Has there ever been a team as screwed as the Phoenix Suns are right now? And I'm not talking about screwed because they have the worst roster in the world, because they don't. I'm not even talking about screwed because I think they're not going to be a playoff team next year, because I don't. They're probably going to be a play-in team, but like, look at the way the West is, there's a hell of a lot of good teams that are going to be in that play-in. But the Phoenix Suns are screwed because I think they have the worst owner in the NBA. How they have an owner that might be worse than Robert Sarver, I don't know. Is he a worse person than Sarver? No. No, he's not. Sarver is one of the cheapest owners in the history of basketball. He's also a terrible person. But my God, was he better at his job than Matt Ishbia. This man right here is just... He's too involved, man. He's too involved. And he knows nothing about the sport of basketball. And this is coming from someone who played at a lower level than him. It's very clear he knows nothing about the sport of basketball. So, like, James Jones is their GM. James Jones has come out and basically said, no one has ever figured out how to use KD, and they need to be the first people that figure it out. First of all, Golden State. Golden State figured out how to use KD. Golden State figured out how to use that man as effectively as possible. How to use KD, get him coming off screens, get him in situations where he's not being double teamed, get him in situations where he's able to just rise up and shoot over a smaller defender rather than being put in isolation situations, get him in catch and shoots, use him as a help side defender. Golden State figured out how to use Kevin Durant. Phoenix Suns don't, because they don't have a point guard. Not only do they not have a point guard, they don't even have a Draymond to set up stuff. They don't have a Draymond, they don't have a system, they don't have off-ball movement like Clay and Steph. They don't have guys that set off-ball screens nearly as well. They don't have anything to help Kevin Durant. They literally just have some guys that mean that they can't double team Kevin Durant. And oh yeah, they still can, because there's not enough ball movement. There's not enough setting up of anything. And the offense is not going to work in the playoffs. Just having good offensive players is not enough to score in basketball. The only time that it probably was going to work was Brooklyn if they didn't get injured. Just because they didn't have three good offense players. They had KD, who's a lot better than he is now. Like, KD 3 years ago, a lot better than he is now. You had Harden, who still hadn't really regressed, one of the best offensive players of all time. And Kyrie Irving, when he wants to be, on his day, is one of the best offensive players to ever play the game of basketball. So of course it's going to work when you're that good on offense. As well as that, you have Blake Griffin, who still wasn't completely washed on that team. I know they gave up the likes of Jared Allen. The following year, they had Bruce Brown. So, like, they still had players. They still had bodies, like. But at the same time, you're just looking and you're like, how do Phoenix think they have a chance? Not only that, Phoenix don't have any draft picks. And this owner doesn't even believe in draft picks. The owner literally has said, we're going to trade our picks. We don't want to develop players. We believe draft picks basically are like things we can use to get established players. He doesn't even believe in draft picks. So this guy's not going to blow it up. I thought, okay, maybe he's going to blow it up and get some draft picks. Man doesn't even believe in the picks. The Phoenix Suns are screwed. And like, are Phoenix going to be a bad team the next 2-3 years maybe? No, they're not going to be a bad team. This man is going to double down with the Bulls strategy. He doesn't have the picks. He can't tank. He can't rebuild. So the guy is literally going to bring the Phoenix Suns into mediocrity for the entirety of Devin Booker's career. Once Beal's contract's done, he might try to sign some bang average players. KD, he's not going to trade KD, so he's not going to get anything for him next year. Because he'll be, 37 years old in the last year of his contract? He's not getting anything for that. He's also got Booker tied down long term, who he's never going to let Booker leave, but he's just going to be in that mediocre zone. It's very easy to be in the 41 win zone when you have a Devin Booker. Just give up any potential future assets for better players right now. You're never going to compete. You're never going to be terrible. You're in that horrible zone. And the worst part is that they're going to be in that zone till at least 2030. Like, they're in so much worse. People talk about the Bulls not tanking and the Bulls being in a bad position. The Suns are in so much worse a position. And this isn't on Kevin Durant. This isn't on Bradley Beal. Because I actually think their roster was constructed okay prior to the Beal trade. I think CP3 was not a bad player to have. Even if you're going to get rid of CP3, just don't bring in Bradley Beal. But even with the owner's being asked about getting a point guard. And James Jones is genuinely like, who? Who should we get a point guard? But the owner has said he doesn't want a point guard because a point guard would take the ball out of the hands of their three scorers. Oh, you don't need a point guard that dribbles the air out of the ball. You don't need a point guard that dribbles the air out of the ball. You need a point guard. If you have a point guard that can just be a good relay passer, if you could have a point guard who will hit an open shot, play defense, won't turn the ball over, and just be a relay passer, you're good. If you have a Mario Chalmers-esque player running the one, you're okay. But his roster literally cannot have a point guard because they're going out with the same starting five next year because they're paying Grayson Allen like nearly $30 million a year. I like Grayson Allen, one of the best shooters in the NBA last season. He's overpaid. And they're paying $150 million to the three guys next year. All of them other than Booker overpaid. All of them other than Booker, you could argue, are overpaid. I'm not going to say are overpaid. You could argue overpaid. And I don't want to hear anything about like anyone who thinks that what's going on with the Phoenix Suns is okay. Because the Phoenix Suns, as a team, are probably losing 10 times the amount of money alone that the WNBA loses every year. They're probably losing 10 times the amount of money next year that the WNBA as a whole has lost. They probably lost more money. I reckon that by 2030, between now and 2030, the Phoenix Suns, as an organization, will have lost more money than the WNBA has from the very start. So I don't want to hear anyone complaining about their contracts because Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Booker are getting paid $60 million a year while their team is probably losing record amounts of money because they're going to be garbage. No one's going to care. And it's going to be one of those situations where it's like they're in the worst stage. Fans are normally okay with the rebuilding team because they're young and exciting. Oh, let's get in now. They might be good next year. They're going to be good. No one likes being in the middle of the road. And at least if you're in the middle of the road, you've got to be good at developing players. Like a San Antonio Spurs for a couple of years. Like what they were trying to do. Obviously, it didn't work. It didn't work out at all. But it makes sense why they were trying to do it. They were trying to develop your Keldon Johnsons, your Devin Vassell's, Lonnie Walker at the time. But like the Spurs are in a good enough position because they just, like Spurs tanked for 2 years. They tanked for 2 years and they're going to be middle of the road again next year. And now they've suddenly got a young team. Trying to think of middle of the road teams that did step up. I think Denver went really middle of the road for a while. I know they were standings wise. Minnesota Timberwolves were middle of the road for a little bit after the Ant trade. And even a little bit before that, they really just tanked the 1 year. But they at least were able to add in Gobert that was one piece away. The Phoenix Suns don't have the assets to get another piece. And they're more than one piece away. The Phoenix Suns are going to be, until 2030, at best, a 53-win team. At worst, a 42-win team. Somewhere in that, and be a first or second round exit, likely first round exit, for the next 6 years. And then at the end of those 6 years, they're still not going to be in a great position. Like, Booker's a day younger than me, so they're going to be, like, old. He's going to be old at that stage. Because I'm going to be old in 2030. I'm going to be freaking 34. But, like, that's how long they're going to be screwed for. That's how long they're going to be screwed for. And to think they had a near perfectly constructed roster before the KD trade. While it makes perfect sense why they made the KD trade, I'm not knocking them for that. I actually think that wasn't the worst trade. This owner's philosophy on team building and the fact that he's too involved is one of the worst things I've seen. Because at least you let your GM do the job. Owners being too hands-on doesn't ever work. Just like with Michael Jordan constantly picking North Carolina players in the mid-2000s. Man drafted Sean May. The man drafted Sean May. Like, he drafted too many North Carolina players. He drafted Raymond Felton as well. Like, it's just a case where it's like, owners getting too hands-on never really works as far as selecting talent. You hire your GMs for a reason. You hire James Jones for a reason. But yet, you're the one saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Apparently, he was the one who negotiated the trade for Kevin Durant and gave up Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and all those picks to not make the team better. Like, it's incompetence. It's absolutely incompetence by a guy who very clearly was a good basketball player, who was obviously brilliant in business, and thinks that because he was good at those two things, that he knows how to run an organization. And he knows what he's doing, but he's literally playing NBA 2K. He is treating being the owner of a team like he has started up a new My League. And if you get the highest overall players, you win the games because it's 2K. Like, it genuinely is baffling what he's doing. And the Suns are screwed.